Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today is Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. As many of you know, I was suspended off of Austin from Ohio 2 after a video got removed last night. It was the one the most recent one. I really don't know why it got taken down, honestly. I don't. They said it was just because I went against the experts or whatever, but I submitted an appeal and I watched back the video and I'm sitting there listening and I'm like, I didn't claim anything that wasn't backed by actual documentation. At least I don't believe that I did. Maybe you guys heard something that I didn't, or maybe I said something that I forgot. Regardless, I'm sure this will keep happening, and I'm taking a big risk right now by uploading this video to Austin from Ohio, because that is my main channel, and many of you know that I was suspended for 2 weeks, and if I get one more strike, this entire channel is gone. Completely and utterly gone. I don't want that, but also I will have that because this stuff is very important to get out to people. I feel strongly about getting this information out. This is literally my life. My life is to promote freedom and to expose the New World Order. I think I've been doing a pretty decent job of that, of both, actually. I just don't know where it could have went wrong. But, that they're going to do what they're going to do. We already know what they do. We already know how they do it. They've done it to many others. They did it to RFB. They've been doing it to Carol. They've even done it to Tim. I mean, I don't even know why any of his videos would get taken down. I mean, sometimes he goes off on little tangents and he'll say certain things, but he mentioned earlier that he had 2 community guideline strikes on Restore the Republic 76. I don't get that. I really don't. I feel like it's arbitrary and they will just say anything to get people's videos taken down, because there's a lot of videos on YouTube of people and they're just the most disgusting things. The most disgusting and even sometimes the most outlandish things with no evidence to back it up, and they get to stay up, they get a join button, they get all these cool little gadgets and stuff, and they're selling you this and selling you that. I'm not into any of that. I was already asked if I would want to monetize my channel, and I said no. I'm not in this to make money. I don't need to make any money. I'm not in this to sell anything. I'm not in this to do anything else other than to wake people now. Right now. Like as I'm speaking. Also, I want to address something from earlier. I thought it was kind of funny. I was going through the comments on the video before it got taken down, and someone on there had a complaint, and he told me to stop rambling and just get to the video. The first thing I want to say to that is, God bless you, sir. Absolutely. I don't argue with anybody. And yes, I am a rambler. Lord, I was born a rambling man, trying to make a living and doing the best I can. I wanted to address that because I thought it was kind of funny. And then I saw that Tim commented on that, and he was like, wow, seriously? Like, because this guy was just being... If anybody has a problem with me rambling, one, I apologize. That's me. It's what I do. 2, this is my channel. If you don't like my rambling, you can fast forward, or you are more than welcome to leave and let the rest of us be. Nobody else has a problem with what I'm doing here. Anyway, just a couple things that I wanted to talk about before I start this video. Alright, let's dig in. This one is fresh off the press, literally 5:16 p.m., about 2 hours ago. Biden to nominate ATF director and announce new executive actions on guns. President Joe Biden plans to announce new executive actions on guns on Thursday. Oh, great, tomorrow. A person familiar with the plans said fulfilling a commitment he made in the aftermath of 2 deadly shootings last month. Oh, real cryptic. So here we go with the illegal enforcement of infringements on your right to keep and bear arms. The announcements will come as the president is expected to nominate David Chipman as the next director of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. A White House official told CNN Wednesday Chipman is a former ATF agent who serves as a senior policy advisor at Giffords, the organization led by former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, who became gun control advocate after being shot in 2011. Would you not call this a conflict of interest? This guy is a former ATF agent, and he serves as a senior policy advisor at Giffords, a communist organization. I don't understand how this guy was even allowed to become the director of the BATFE. But then again, I also do understand it because he is the type of person that they want in this position. You remember when Lori Lightfoot, Chicago mayor, was talking about putting people in positions in different agencies who pledge allegiance to the New World Order? Well, here we are. Literally, right here. These people are not supposed to have any... They can have their personal bias or whatever. But professionally, they're not supposed to bring that to the workplace, especially in public service. But it's a new world, so who am I to say? Biden has been considering requiring background checks on so-called ghost guns, along with other measures that would strengthen existing gun laws. So-called ghost guns. At least they said it was so-called ghost guns. That's just a fancy term to try to scare people. Ghost guns are nothing more than guns that they don't know about, which is how it should be. It's not their business what you own. It's not their business what I own. It's not my business what you own, and it's not your business what I own. That's the thing about America. You don't like it, don't do it. But don't ever try to take away somebody else's right. Do not ever try to stifle other people's rights, because in doing so, you have already stifled yourself. And I think it's funny that all these people, I seen a report on television like 2 days ago, and it was talking about how people are against wanting to ID and whatnot for voting because it's infringing on voting rights. And I'm thinking, okay, now put this in, switch it up a little bit and make it about firearms. Now what? Oh, it's not infringing. Oh, because we're not taking it. It's called hypocrisy. And it is very prevalent in our society today. The extent of Thursday's announcement, which was first reported by Politico, wasn't immediately clear, and the White House did not elaborate. Quote, "I expect the president will have more to say tomorrow," Press Secretary Jen Psaki told reporters during a daily briefing Wednesday. Biden last month, following a mass shooting in Colorado, quote, "I don't need to wait another minute, let alone an hour, to take common sense steps that will save lives in the future." So he already said he's not going to wait another minute or hour. And he's going to get it done now. And I'm pretty sure this was the same report where he said, oh man, I just lost my train of thought. I hate that. Oh, he said he urges Congress to act on this, trying to make it seem like, oh, we're going to do this right. But he said if not, then he was going to use executive action, which executive orders are recommendations. They're not laws. Somehow in our society, we got to the point where we believe that executive orders are laws to be followed and not recommendations or guidelines. Because if executive orders were laws, then there would be no need for the Congress. There would be no need for the House. There would be no need for voting because we would be living under a despotism. Ghost guns are handmade or self-assembled firearms that don't have serial numbers. Half true. They don't have serial numbers because they weren't manufactured by the lobby. But you can buy your own parts and stuff, and you can build your own rifle. I know a lot of people that do that, and that is your business. And they are putting this term ghost guns to try to get people to all be all afraid and, oh, they could be anywhere. Your neighbor might have 6 of them, even though he's never going to shoot anybody a day in his life. That type of thing. Here we go. The move would be in line with recommendations from gun safety advocacy groups who are consulting with the White House. Well, I'm glad to know all these advocacy groups get to just consult with the White House whenever they want. The administration had also been considering action in other areas, including to alert law enforcement agencies when someone fails a background check. Well, that's real nice. Just alert the police if you fail a background check. Gun control advocates say background check alerts could potentially flag troubled or criminal individuals who are trying to access weapons. Here's something for you. Let's say some guy gets popped with a little tiny bit of weed. Let's say that where he's at, whatever state, that little tiny bit of weed is a felony. Non-violent crime. So he goes to jail. He gets out, whether it be a month, a day, a couple months, whatever, it don't matter. Okay, so now he has a stain on his record because he has a felony. Now he can't buy a gun. Which they've been doing that as well. They've been doing that, certain little back doors to try to take guns away as well. Like, for instance, if you get a medical marijuana card, you are not allowed to own a firearm. If you are prescribed any narcotics for pain or anything like that, you are not allowed to own a firearm. If you are diagnosed with certain, quote, mental illnesses, you are not allowed to own a firearm. You guys already know what I believe. I believe everybody should be able to own a gun or more. Anything. No restrictions whatsoever. Unless you have proven that you hurt people, of course. And then maybe I can understand if I am receiving a phone call. Oh, it's my Nana. I'm actually not going to take it, but I'm going to pause it. I apologize for the interruption, guys. What I was saying before is that something little, like a little drug charge or even a theft charge or something like that, non-violent crimes, that should never stop anybody from owning a firearm. And there should be a statute of limitations on, if let's say you're 18 years old and you did something really stupid and you ended up having to fight somebody and you beat them pretty bad and they called the cops and you went to jail, whatever. Let's say you're now 50 That was a really long time ago. Let's say you go try to buy a gun and they're like, oh no, you had this here violent crime when you were 18 years old. And then you're going to be like, wait a minute. I was a dumb kid. I was 18. I was just doing stupid stuff. And they're going to say, no, no, no. Too bad. Barred for life. In situations like that, I would say, come on. Let this guy protect himself. But, of course, if you are proven to be violent over and over and over again, and you hurt people, or you've shot people, or you're just evil in general, yeah, then I can understand maybe restricting that individual's right. But you don't punish groups or entire societies for the actions of individuals. Never do you do that. Only in communist countries do they do that. Following last month's shootings, Biden called on Congress to take steps like reenacting assault weapons ban, with Vice President Kamala Harris, who argued for executive actions on the campaign trail, telling CBS this morning that if we really want something that is going to be lasting, we need to pass legislation. Of course. The Democratic-controlled House passed gun legislation that would expand background checks on all commercial gun sales last month, but the bills face tougher paths in the Senate, where Democrats hold a slim 50-50 majority and would need significant Republican support to overcome a legislative filibuster. Biden acknowledged during a news conference that his main legislative priority was passing an infrastructure package, that he believed careful timing was key to the success of any proposed bills. Here we go. As the nation's posture on guns has evolved, Biden has been front and center at almost every stop along the way for more than 3 decades. From the triumph of the 10-year ban on assault weapons in '94 to the disappointment of a failed push for universal background checks in the wake of Sandy Hook massacre. Recent shootings in Georgia and Colorado had raised the question inside the West Wing over how much political capital Biden should expend on the matter, which has so often ended in frustration. I would say that the assault weapons ban was not a triumph of any kind, of course. And it's not a disappointment that they failed with their push of background checks. Universal background checks. You already have to get one when you go and buy a firearm. Every time I've went to buy a firearm, I had to have a background check. What they mean by universal is private sales, which nobody ever has the right to know what kind of business you're in private sales between two individuals, especially not the despotic government. While campaigning, Biden had said he would task his attorney general with instituting better enforcement of existing gun laws as a means of slowing gun violence. He also made a campaign pledge to send $900 million for community programs meant to combat violence, something the administration is sorting out how to fulfill. And we already know this song and dance. Just little, imperceptible, little chippings away at the second. And if the second goes, all of them go. The first and the third through the 10th. Once the second is gone, when the last rifle leaves the last hand of the last American, that's it. That's it for freedom in the world, honestly. And it really is that simple. People like to get involved. They like to start arguing all these different positions. They like to start going on about how guns are bad because this, guns are good because that. It literally is as simple as, do you want the ability to protect yourself against anybody who would try to hurt you or your family? You personally. Don't think of it as a societal issue. Don't think of it as a group issue. Think of it as a personal issue. And that's what I ask these people all the time when they talk about guns. I'm like, well, don't you believe that you should have that right? They're like, well, yeah, me, I'm not some crazy person. And I'm like, are you listening to yourself? You're wanting to back all these things because you think it's only going to be for these crazy people that are going to go out and do all this stuff. Like, no, this is for everyday people like you and I. Also, couple that with the fact that I like to tell them that, oh, you're not against guns at all. You are for guns, but only in a concentrated manner, concentrated, centralized into an all-powerful government. You are against individuals, your fellow man, defending themselves. That's what you are against. Don't get it twisted and try to say that you're against guns, because guns are going to be needed to take guns from people. Anyway, moving on. Here's a report from a couple years ago. We already know that the UN wants to be our world government by 2030. But I was reading through this earlier and I was like, wow. Wow. And I was reading this in 2021, obviously. So our current situation that we have going on now. And a lot of things in here, you can see it. You can see it forming. So well, let me jump into this one because I got a couple more about this sort of thing today. In the 1960s, an informed but naive undergraduate, I was walking across the campus of the University of Pennsylvania with the chairman of the chemistry department, Professor Charles C. Price. He told me that he was president of the United World Federalists and asked if I knew what that organization was. When I said that I did not, he replied that they believed in a one world government that would grow out of the United Nations. I was nonplussed as I had never heard anyone suggest that idea before. To me, the United Nations was a benevolent organization dedicated to pressuring the world community in the direction of peace, to operating charitable programs to help the struggling, impoverished peoples of the world. I imagine the UN as a kind of united way, on a worldwide scale. When most people think of the United Nations, they do think of it as just this good organization who are just trying to get the governments of the world to quit fighting, and they want peace and prosperity for everybody and this and that. And I'll be the first one to tell you, first of all, their definition of peace is the absence of opposition to socialism. That's their definition of peace. If there is no opposition to socialism, that is their definition of peace. You don't believe me? Go read the writings of Karl Marx and he will explain it perfectly. How would Professor Price's vision of a new world government emerge? Although there was a socialistic thread in its founding document, the United Nations was formed based on a vision of human rights presented in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which placed the concept of rights at the forefront for the progress of the world body. And rights are the mainstay for uplifting human freedom and the dignity of the individual. The UDHR document followed many amazing documents that presented rights as the central concept of the post-feudal world, which we went over the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in a 2-part series on here. If you didn't watch that, please do. You're missing out. The English Declaration or Bill of Rights, 1689, the U.S. Declaration of Independence, with its important and forceful assertion of its unalienable, not inalienable, natural rights, the powerful U.S. Bill of Rights enacted in 1791, and the French Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen, 1789. You'll see later on, they're not talking about rights as in God-given rights that you're born with. They're talking about other types. The word rights appears in almost every sentence of the 1,869-word UN document. The document is literally obsessed with rights, and one must assume they are likewise obsessed with the rights successes as manifested in the United Kingdom, the US, and France. However, there are some deviations from the rights usage we are all familiar with. Oh, here we go. Yes, there are some deviations. When they say rights, people are like, yes, they care about rights. Oh, no, they don't. In Article 3, instead of the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness found in our Declaration of Independence, the UN declares everyone's right to life, liberty, and security of person. Are they implying that security will bring happiness, or are they implying that happiness is too ephemeral of value and too Western? Perhaps more mundane survival goals are needed by most of the world. Security of person means that you'll be safe, you'll be secure, you already know. Totalitarianism. I always say, if you want to be safe and secure, go to prison. You will be safe and secure. You'll be secure in your 3 meals a day, in a hot bed or in a hot cot. You'll be secure with all the walls and armed guards and stuff around you. You'll be safe. You'll be watched, so you won't have to worry about anything else. The only thing is, you will have no freedom. All these people want to be safe and secure, but they would never willingly set foot in a prison, because it ain't about that. We see a reprise of items from our Bill of Rights, such as condemnation of cruel and unusual punishment, Article 5, due process, Article 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 14, 17, illegal search and seizure, Article 12, freedom of speech and assembly, Articles 19, 20. But there are new rights introduced which, as early as 1945, were pointing the way toward intervention by the UN in the daily lives of people throughout the world. And yes, they will. Throughout the document, they assert the right to food, clothing, medical care, social services, unemployment and disability benefits, child care, and free education, plus the right to full development of the personality. Think about that. What are they trying to control? Food, medical care, clothing, social services, of course, unemployment, disability benefits, child care, free education. So basically what they're saying is you have the right to anything that the world government provides to you. That's exactly what I see when I read stuff like this. But it says, imagine the UN says I have the right to be me and the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community and to enjoy the arts. We each have the right to enjoy a painting or a movie. However, they do not state the right to appear on The Tonight Show or Saturday Night Live, so there were limits to their largesse. If I even said that right. In 2015, 70 years after their original rights-based document, the UN took a giant step toward the global government that was only hinted at their first organizing document. They issued a document entitled Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We're all familiar with Agenda 2030. The document has 91 numbered sections of the UN's Program for World Government. The UDHR is only referenced once in the entire document, Article 19. Unlike the original mother document that was under 1,900 words, this document is 14,883 words. 91 items are addressing issues under the 5 headings of people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. Additionally, the document provides 17 sustainable development goals to improve life on the plane. I said plane. That's what it is. I have a very hard time saying planet. But the Agenda 2030 document itself, you think anybody would actually sit down and read what it actually says in those 14,883 words? The answer is no, they wouldn't read that at all, and they know that. Because we as a society have outsourced our intellect and we've outsourced our learning to the people on the 6 o'clock news. They'll tell us what's in there. We don't have to worry about it. They'll tell us. How's that working out for you? What is meant by the term sustainable? The most often quoted definition comes from the UN World Commission on Environment and Development. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The earlier ideals of rights, freedom, equality, and justice are subsumed under meeting of needs and explicit environmentalism, which emphasizes preventing the depletion of scarce planetary resources. What's that sound like? Oh, actually, it's right here, the thing that I thought of. Of course, the takeoff is the Marxist axiom that society should be organized around the idea of from each according to his ability to each according to his needs. Yes, necessity is always, always the creed of the tyrants. Thus, Marxism is implicit in sustainability, but is nuanced by its alliance with seemingly scientific adjustments and goals related to environmentalism. A technical jargon is welded to Marxist intentionality to produce a sense of fittingness in modern progress. The entire Transforming Our World document is a cast in a stream of consciousness of pious platitudes for a utopian future. It is an outsized utopian dream. 5 of the 17 items pertain to the environment. There are goals for the cities, for women, for the poor, and for life underwater. Absolutely no sphere of human activity is exempt from control by the UN. The key word, of course, is no longer rights, except in the oblique reference in Article 19. In fact, this writer did not see the word rights even once in this document, even though that word appeared practically every sentence of the original UN document. The one-worlders of the 1950s and early 60s are now in the UN driver's seat and have made their move. The overlay of Marxist talk about meeting needs has moved to center stage. The UN has assigned itself a time frame for moving forward its plan for planetary hegemony. This projected transformation detailing, yet without details, a new world order of environmental responsibility and a significant reduction of poverty and hunger never speaks to the practical dimension of vast manipulations of people by cynical leaders and ignorant bureaucrats who hold their positions through terrorism and bribery. They never discuss incompetence and corruption, twin brothers in the family of venality. The document portrays a sincere world where all those in power want to help humanity despite the daily evidence of selfishness, corruption, murderous intents, devilish manipulations, thefts, personal immoralities, hatreds, and utter depravity of many governmental leaders in every country of the world. And among the leaders of business as well. It's not in the agenda for sustainable development itself one of those devilish manipulations. I would say yes, it is. The sustainability ideal is not wedded to a Christian worldview. Instead, individual liberty is submerged in a scientifically determined collectivist mindset with final decisions in the hands of the devilish, all-knowing big brothers. The relevance of the individual is downplayed. It's being put forward by the UN that is no longer pro-Western, a much larger body than existed in 1945. Will you accept it, or is it time more than ever before to begin rethinking our membership in that unsustainable body? And yes, the individual is stifled and totally destroyed in the New World Order. There are no individuals in the New World Order. It's just going to be one human family. That's what they say. One body. The best thing about the free market and freedom is that when free people start creating and start building businesses and building just things in general, it comes from influence from the individual, from the quote customer, from the one who will be enjoying your product or service. That's why you have all these different businesses with their different business models and their different ways of going about their advertising, and just the way that the day-to-day operations in individual stores, that's how they work, based off of individuals in said region. If everything is done for the majority, for the group, you know how many people suffer when that sort of thing is done? Let's get back to the top here. When individuals have individual rights and make up the country of individuals, which is what we really are, a country of individuals with individual rights, that's how it was intended anyway. That right there is the idea of freedom for individuals. You can't have freedom for certain groups. You can't have freedom for this group and not that group, or all groups. You can't say, okay, all groups freedom, and we'll write up all these laws and this and that. The more corrupt the nation, the more numerous the laws. So whenever they go writing up laws and stuff, and people are like, oh yeah, this is going to give me so many more rights. No one's ever said that. That's not even a sentence that has ever been used, I don't believe. If they're making laws against something, that means they're making it illegal. Freedom has never come from the stroke of a pen. Freedom has always came from God himself. And your personal freedom came from God through your parents to you. And it's only up to you if you want to keep it or not. Only you can keep your freedom. I can't keep your freedom for you. I can try to fight for your freedom. I can even die for your freedom. But ultimately, it's up to you. Look at all the people that already died throughout the history of this nation, who died for freedom or the idea of it, and who fought for the Constitution. Look what we're saying to them now. We're giving it up. They fought for it. We're not even preserving it. We're saying, you know what? World communism, all right. You win. Yeah, my grandparents fought, but it's okay, because I'm going to be safe and secure in the New World Order. I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for my wife. I don't want that for any of you. I want to live in a land, in a world where freedom is the most important thing. Nobody even talks about that anymore. If I go to a store and someone tells me, like, if I go to the gas station and the guy's like, oh, have a good day, stay safe, I'll say, stay free. And they always look at me like I'm dumb or something. Like, no, I'm literally telling you, stay free. If you tell me to stay safe, I'm definitely going to tell you to stay free. True safety comes with freedom. And freedom has a responsibility aspect to it. You have to be responsible. You have to be informed. You have to be patient, withstanding, always watchful, because there's always somebody trying to take freedom away. Moving on. Oh, this one's probably going to get me in trouble. I probably shouldn't run it, but I'm going to run it. The elite technocrats behind the global Great Reset. Every single time, someone's always like, oh, well, do you have any names or organizations that are a part of this new world order, or is it just some random shadowy group of people that you can never say who they are? Oh, I can actually say a lot of who they are, and I hope this helps you have that conversation with other people. And this was last June that this was written up. The UN Agenda 2030, with its Sustainable Development Goals, is claimed to ensure peace and prosperity for people and the planet. The actions are said to tackle poverty and hunger, bring better health and education, reduce inequalities, and save the oceans, forests, and the climate. Who can argue against such benevolent goals? But the promised utopia comes with a price. It sets shackles on our personal freedom. Well, of course, we know that. I'm going to censor myself when I start talking about certain people in here because, well, many of you know that that's how I get taken down all the time. There's one person's name in particular, and you just thought of it in your head just now. I heard you. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to freak you out a little bit. Global Goals Partners. The leading partners of the United Nations Global Goals Project reveal the real technocratic agenda that lies behind the polished feel-good facade. It invokes a plan to fully integrate mankind into a technological surveillance apparatus overseen by powerful AI. The current situation, we'll call it, scare has been perfect trigger to kickstart this nefarious agenda. And lo and behold, the first leading partner is BNMG Foundation, built with the fortune from M and run by the company's former CEO, BG. The foundation is one of the key operatives in implementing the Agenda 2030 plan, together with the foundations like Rockefeller Foundation, Rockefeller Brothers Fund, Ford Foundation, Bloomberg Philanthropies, UN Foundation, and Open Society Foundation. They all have their roots in population control, eugenics, and represents the global elite that ultimately are running the show and shapes the agenda on a global scale. B&MG Foundation has, together with World Economic Forum, had a prominent role in orchestrating the current situation as well as the push for digital ID. The second partner is Avanti Communications, a British world-leading provider of satellite technology to military and government projects. Their satellites are said to provide secure, rapid, and reliable connectivity for government digital inclusion programs. They deliver a world-spanning connectivity which may be used to finally realize the old dream of a world brain where all human activity can be tracked and analyzed in real time. Well, of course, because what's Lucifer want more than anything? He wants to be like God. He wants to be omnipresent, omnipotent, everywhere at one time, seeing all. But guess what? He can't. He can't be everywhere at one time and see all. So he has to have his little gadgets. The third partner is 2030 Vision, a technology partnership that connects businesses, NGOs, and governments with the technology and expertise they need to realize the goals. It's founded and chaired by the British semiconductor company ARM. It consists of corporations like M and the German software company SAP, together with a number of technology advocacy groups. 2030 Vision, which recently merged with World Economic Forum's Frontier 2030, is a partnership that connects cross-sector organizations and the advanced technology solutions needed to support the delivery of the global goals. 2030 Vision platform will provide a focal point for the mobilization of a more concerted and cooperative effort to apply advanced technologies to achieve the UN global goals. Already, look at the players that are pushing this goal. Look at the players behind it. The fourth partner, of course, our favorite, the reason I can't say anything, the fourth partner is the multinational tech giant Google, provider of cloud computing, a leading search engine and web browser, Android cell phone operating system, YouTube, AI solutions, and companion of everyday life for billions of people that already intimately track users and their behaviors. Well, what do you think about that? And anybody that goes against, silenced. Oh man, I'm committing digital suicide right now. That's not how I actually say it. I said that so the algorithm wouldn't pick it up. By reading this stuff here, it's coming. It's coming. If this video gets taken down, guys, this channel will be gone. Gone. Just totally wiped off the face of the earth. I'll never be able to get it back. The fifth partner is the American global payment and technology company MasterCard, a key player in developing the digital ID that will be needed to access basic service and payment in the new international economic order that will rise out of the ashes of the old world system. CEO Ajipal Singh Banga is a member of Council on Foreign Relations as well as World Economic Forum's International Business Council. I wonder if I can... Yeah, here we go. Here's a little diagram. If you guys want to pause and read that. See everything that is involved with that. Okay. The sixth partner is American corporation Salesforce, a cloud-based software company headed by Mark Benioff, one of the board directors of the World Economic Forum. They are a global leader in customer relationship management through the use of cloud computing, social media, Internet of Things, and AI. You see how a lot of these people are interconnected with all these other agencies? You know, the ones we never voted for. The seventh partner is UNICEF, United Nations Children's Fund, UN agency that will ensure that no child will be left behind from being integrated in the digital panopticon. The UN global goals and the leading partners are closely intertwined with World Economic Forum's fourth industrial revolution, a megalomaniac transhumanist plan that will redefine what it means to be human, where every aspect of life will be monitored and controlled from above for the betterment of humanity. In its most pessimistic, dehumanized form, the Fourth Industrial Revolution may indeed have the potential to robotize humanity and thus deprive us of our heart and soul. Klaus Schwab said that. And what do you know? There he is right there. Ugly bastard. Look like a lobster. Forgive me, Father, for I should not judge. We have to be better than these people. The current situation is seen by the World Economic Forum and Chairman Klaus Schwab as the perfect trigger to implement their grandiose technocratic plan. Big tech will come to rescue the world. In June 2020, Schwab declared, backed up by the prominent people like Prince Charles and UN Secretary General, they wrote that wrong, Antonio Guterres, MasterCard CEO Ajipal Singh Banga, President Brad Smith, as well as IMF Director Kristalina Georgieva. The need of a great reset to restore order in a world steeped in panic, conflict, and economic turmoil that they caused. Problem, reaction, solution. And this is what Klaus Schwab said. This is in the book, Great Reset. The situation has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. Now is the historical moment in time, not only to fight the real situation, but to shape the system for the needs of the post-situation era. We have a choice to remain passive, which would lead to the amplification of many of the trends we see today. Polarization, nationalism, racism, and ultimately increasing social unrest and conflicts. But we have another choice. We could build a new social contract, particularly integrating the next generation. We could change our behavior to be in harmony with nature again. And we can make sure that the technologies of the Fourth Industrial Revolution are best utilized to provide us with better lives. Well, isn't that nice? And you can watch the whole thing here. This techno-fascist recipe will then, in utmost non-democratic fashion, without any public debate or skeptic inquiry, soon be integrated into the agenda of G20 and European Union, relabeled as the Great Green Deal, with planet-saving qualities. Everything is already in place after ostensibly being put on the back burner during the situation. The double C agenda is now back with a vengeance. Klaus Schwab also said, quote, "We have one planet and we know that double C could be the next global disaster with even more dramatic consequences for humankind. We have to decarbonize the economy, the short window still remaining, and bring our thinking and behavior once more into harmony with nature." And these people, they worship creation rather than the creator. And who is the true God of this world? Who did Jesus, Yeshua, tell us that the true God of this world is? You guessed it. Unsurprisingly, Klaus Schwab fails to mention his own and his cronies' role in creating this global economic mess in the first place, as it was foreseen with stunning accuracy in World Economic Forum and BG Event 2.0.1. October 2019. We already know about that. And the Rockefeller Foundation reports scenarios for the future of technology and international development. 2010. If we don't respond and act promptly and wisely, the foxes will soon to be in total control of the hen house. What do you think of all that? What do you think of that? So next time somebody asks you, if they ask, who are these people? Who are these agencies? Bring this up. Bring this up right here. Moving on. Okay, here is the last one that I wanted to get into for today. Really hope that last article doesn't get my video taken, but who knows with these people. On a side note, this website right here, educateyourself.org, and their little slogan, the freedom of knowledge, the power of thought. This website is one of the best websites in the world, in my opinion. In my opinion, this is the greatest website in the world for anything. Let's get into it. Well, you can see that these are in 51 different languages. Russian, French, German. Let's dig in. There is a worldwide conspiracy being orchestrated by an extremely powerful and influential group of genetically related individuals, at least at the highest echelons. That's true. 13 of them, which include many of the world's wealthiest people, top political leaders, and corporate elite, as well as members of the so-called black nobility of Europe, dominated by the British Crown, whose goal is to create a one-world fascist government, stripped of nationalistic and regional boundaries, that is obedient to their agenda. Their intention is to effect complete and total control over every human being on the planet, and to dramatically reduce the world's population by 6.5 billion to 500 million. We know that. It's carved in stone. Excuse me. While the name New World Order is a term frequently used today when referring to this group, it's more useful to identify the principal organizations, institutions, and individuals who make up this vast interlocking spiderweb of elite conspirators. The Illuminati is the oldest term commonly used to refer to the 13 bloodline families and their offshoots that make up a major portion of this controlling elite. Most members of the Illuminati are also members in the highest ranks of numerous secretive and occult societies, which, in many cases, extend straight back to the ancient world. Upper levels of tightly compartmentalized, need-to-know basis Illuminati structural pyramid include planning committees and organizations that the public has little or no knowledge of. Oh, that is so true. The upper levels of the Illuminati pyramid include secretive committees with names such as Council of 3, Council of 5, Council of 7, Council of 9, Council of 13, Council of 33, the Grand Druid Council, the Committee of 300, also called the Olympians, and the Committee of 500, among others. In 1992, Dr. John Coleman published Conspirators' Hierarchy, the story of the Committee of 300, with laudable scholarship and meticulous research. Dr. Coleman identifies the players and carefully details the Illuminati agenda of worldwide domination and control. On page 161 of the book, this is what he says. A one-world government and one-unit monetary system under permanent, non-elected, hereditary oligarchists who self-select from among their numbers in the form of a feudal system, as it was in the Middle Ages. In this one-world entity, population will be limited by restrictions on the number of children per family, diseases, wars, famines, until 1 billion people who are useful to the ruling class, in areas which will be strictly and clearly defined, remain as the total world population. There will be no middle class, only rulers and servants. All laws will be uniform under a legal system of world courts practicing the same unified code of laws, backed up by a one-world government police force, one world unified military to enforce laws in all former countries where no national boundary shall exist. The system will be on the basis of a welfare state. Those who are obedient and subservient to the one world government will be rewarded with the means to live. Those who are rebellious will simply starve to death or be declared outlaws, thus a target for anyone who wishes to kill them. Privately owned firearms or weapons of any kind will be prohibited. Of course. The sheer magnitude and complex web of deceit surrounding the individuals and organizations involved in this conspiracy is mind-boggling, even for the most astute among us. Most people react with disbelief and skepticism toward the topic, unaware that they've been conditioned, brainwashed to react with skepticism by institutional and media influences that were created by the mother of all mind control organizations, the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations in London. Author and deprogrammer Fritz Springmeier, the top 13 Illuminati bloodline, says, most people have built-in slides that short-circuit the mind's critical examination of process when it comes to certain sensitive topics. Slides, Springmeier reports, as a CIA term for conditioned type of response, which dead-ends a person's thinking and terminates debate or examination of the topic at hand. I was talking about that yesterday. Certain key words that you say and people's minds just glaze over. That's what this is. I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but my wife just told me it was raining. She just came outside and said, hey, it's raining. I could see it now. Weird. I'm sitting in the car, I'm looking at the phone, and I'm just now seeing the raindrops. For example, the mention of the word conspiracy often solicits a slight response with many people. Springmeier has co-authored 3 books on trauma-based programming, which detail how the Illuminati employs highly tuned and extremely sophisticated mind control training programs that begin the programming process while the intended victim is still within the womb. Mind control is a much greater problem than most people realize. According to Cisco Wheeler, former Illuminati mind control programmer, there are 10 million people who have been programmed as mind control slaves, using trauma-based mind control programs with names like Monarch and MKUltra. The newer, non-trauma electronic means of MC programming that grew out of the Montauk Project may include millions more. Al Bielek, who played a principal role in the development of the Montauk Project, said there are likely 10 million victims of Montauk-style mind control programming worldwide, the majority located in the USA. He also said that there are covert Montauk programming centers in every major city in the U.S. Imagine that. Imagine that. What most Americans believe to be public opinion is in reality carefully crafted and scripted propaganda designed to elicit a desired behavioral response from the public. Public opinion polls are really taken, not rarely, with the intent of gouging the public's acceptance of the Illuminati's planned programs. A strong showing in the polls tells the Illuminati that the programming is taking, while a poor showing tells the NWO manipulators that they have to recast or tweak programming until the desired response is achieved. While the thrust and content of the propaganda is decided at Tavistock, implementation of the propaganda is executed in the United States by well over 200 think tanks, such as RAND Corporation and Brookings Institute, which are overseen and directed by the top NWO mind control organization in the United States, the Stanford Research Institute in Menlo Park, California. I heard of them before. Not much, though. Probably as intended. The NWO global conspirators manifest their agenda through the skillful manipulation of human emotions, especially fear. Past centuries, they have repeatedly utilized a contrivance that NWO researcher and author David Icke has characterized in his book, The Biggest Secret, as problem, reaction, solution. Now, a lot of you know how I feel about David Icke. He is a proper disinformation agent. He tells about 60% truth and 40% lie. And that's how disinformation works, because when this guy is thrown out there to be crazy and kooky for the quote lies or tall tales that he told, the truth also seems like a lie. And I have my reasons for believing that. But it just so happens that what he's saying here is correct. And we all know about Hegelian dialectic. The technique is as follows, and it's just problem, reaction, solution. We already know how that works, so I won't even read that. Except for this part right here. In recent decades, so-called opposition groups are usually identified in the media as freedom fighters or liberators. Recently, the KLA, Kosovo Liberation Army. At the same time, the leader of the established political power where the conflict is being orchestrated is demonized and on cue referred to as another Hitler. Take your pick: Saddam Hussein, Milosevic, Gaddafi, also Assad. Freedom fighters are not infrequently assembled from a local criminal element, i.e. KLA drug traffickers. In the spirit of true Machiavellian deceit, the same NWO strategists are equally involved in covertly arming and advising the leader of the established power as well. The Illuminati always profits from any armed conflict by loaning money, arming, and supplying all parties involved in a war. Yeah, so when two countries are fighting in the so-called war, these guys are who benefits, who profits. There's the real enemy. The conflict is drawn to the world stage by the controlled media outlets with a barrage of photos and videotape reports of horrific and bloody atrocities suffered by innocent civilians. The cry goes up, something has to be done, and that is the desired reaction. Note the same technique is presently being used to bring about gun control in the United States. And boy, are they still using it to bring about gun control. The NWO puppeteers then provide the solution by sending a UN peacekeepers, Bosnia or UN coalition force, Gulf War, or NATO bombers, and then ground troops, Kosovo. Once installed, the peacekeepers never leave. The idea is to have NWO-controlled ground troops in all major countries or strategic areas where significant resistance to the New World Order takeover is likely to be encountered. And here's some examples in Indonesia in 1999. Same strategy used to occupy Kosovo with UN NATO troops was applied by the NWO manipulators to take military control of East Timor. Once again, the same morality play is trotted out for public consumption. The local evil and demonic Indonesian army trained militias responsible for the slaughter of innocent civilians following August 30th vote for independence from Indonesian control must be stopped at all costs. This time, Australia, to keep up with appearance of international humanitarian effort, will lead the charge with peacekeeping troops. Of course, it didn't take long for Madeleine Albright to announce the U.S. support assets will be part of UN peacekeeping team. Front page story, LA Times, 99. This guy, Mike Jendrzejczyk of Human Rights Watch, it's an Illuminati front group, in D.C., said that it's crucial that peacekeepers have the authority to disarm militia forces and any Indonesian soldiers actively working with them. The local sovereign military force is either defeated, as the case of the United States itself, replaced by foreign UN partnership for peace, troops who take over the jobs of U.S. soldiers who have been sent overseas on peacekeeping missions. In addition to being killed in ground conflicts on foreign soil, U.S. military forces will likely be reduced in the next few years through disease-induced attrition from mandatory, you can read that, required of all U.S. military personnel, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they're still working on that. The corporate portion of the NWO pyramid seems to be dominated first and foremost by a Kabbalist international bankers and the big pharmaceutical cartels, as well as other major multinational corporations. The royal family of England, namely Queen Elizabeth II and the House of Windsor, who are in fact descendants of the German arm of European royalty. The Saxe-Coburg-Gotha family changed the name to Windsor in 1914. Are high-level players along with British oligarchy, which controls the upper strata of the Illuminati. Decision-making Illuminati nerve centers of this effort are London, especially the City of London, Basel, Switzerland, and Brussels. The United Nations, along with all agencies working under the UN umbrella, such as, you could read that one, who are full-time players in this scheme. Similarly, NATO is a military tool of the NWO. The leaders of all major industrial countries like the United States, England, Germany, Italy, Australia, New Zealand are members. All G7, G8 are active and fully cooperative participants in this conspiracy. In this century, the degree of control exerted by the Illuminati has advanced to the point only certain handpicked individuals who are groomed and selected by the Illuminati are even eligible to become prime minister or president of countries like England, Germany, or the United States. Yes, it doesn't matter who wins the presidency. This right here proves that the last president that everybody thought was an outsider was not truly an outsider. You know what really happens to outsiders? Take a look at what happened to John F. Kennedy in Dealey Plaza in 1963. But it goes on to say it didn't matter whether Bill Clinton or Bob Dole won the presidency in 1996. The results would have been the same. Same thing as now. It didn't matter if it was going to be Trump or Biden. Same thing. Both men playing on the same team for the same ball club. Anyone who isn't a team player is taken out. First one, President Kennedy, Ali Bhutto, Aldo Moro. More recently, Admiral Borda, William Colby were also killed because they were either unwilling to go along with the conspiracy to destroy America or cooperating in some capacity or were attempting to expose toward the takeover agenda. Yep. Most of the major wars, political upheavals, and economic depression the past 100 years and earlier were carefully planned, instigated by machinations of these elites. And it just talks about all these wars. Let's get down here. Well, I'll let you read this for a minute. Yeah, you can even pause if you want to read that because I really got to get going. FEMA in America, Federal Emergency Management Agency, well, administration. It's agency now because Homeland Security took them over, all this. Was created in 1979 under Presidential Memorandum 32, authored for President Carter by Professor Samuel P. Huntington, Harvard professor and former FEMA Advisory Board chairman. Huntington wrote the seminal piece for the Trilateral Commission in the mid-70s, which he criticized democracy and economic development as outdated ideas. As co-author of another report prepared for the Trilateral Commission, The Crisis of Democracy, Huntington wrote, "We have come to recognize there are potential desirable limits to economic growth. There are also potentially desirable limits to the indefinite extension of political democracy. A government which lacks authority will have little ability, short of cataclysmic crisis, to impose on its people the sacrifices which may be necessary." Do you not see what's going on today? And his ideas were rewritten into the National Security Decision Directive, which was enacted under Reagan in 1982. Treated passing footnote by the media, this law identified legitimate areas to be upgraded to maintain national defense. Also laid groundwork for emergency mobilization preparedness. A plan under which existing socioeconomic regulations or other legal constraints would be waived in the event of national emergency. Kind of like what's the current situation. Public Law 101-647, signed by President Bush, November 90. What it boils down to is this: in the event that the president declares national emergency for any reason, from earthquakes to increased international tensions or economic financial crisis, FEMA can then, at their discretion, implement Executive Orders 10995 through 11005. By the way, they're enacting these right now. Remember when Trump declared national emergency on March 13th and declared the entire United States a disaster zone for the first time in history? Yeah. Yep. So FEMA can do all this. Executive orders permit takeover by FEMA of local, state, national governments, and suspension of constitutional guarantees. FEMA will have the authority to exert any sort of control that it deems necessary upon the American public. A trained national police force, formerly referred to by the name of Multi-Jurisdictional Task Force, wearing black uniforms and composed of specially selected U.S. military personnel, foreign military units carrying United Nations ID cards, specially trained existing police groups from larger metropolitan American cities. These members of MJTF will implement and enforce martial law under the direction and control of FEMA. The President and Congress are out of the loop. FEMA is a Trojan horse by which the New World Order will implement over police state control over the American populace. War on drugs. Cruel joke, of course. The U.S. government, specifically the CIA, is the biggest drug lord on the planet. Drug money is used to pay for innumerable black projects, including construction of huge underground cities housing both humans and, well, it says here, but down you'll see a little bit. It says aliens, but you'll see what they mean. They mean fallen ones. Working with the secret U.S. government. The instigation of a tramped-up war's cover for amassing fortunes can be dated back to at least the 12th century, when only a core group of 9 members of the Illuminati group called Knights Templar, military arm of Illuminati secret society known as Priory of Sion, kicked off the crusades that lasted over a century and a half. A rift later developed between the Templars and the Priory of Sion when Jerusalem was lost to Saccharine Turks in 1187. And it just goes on about this, blah, 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 blah. The acquisition and consolidation of even greater wealth, natural resources, total political power, and control over others are the motivating forces which drives the decisions of the Illuminati. toll, and human suffering and the loss of innocent lives are non-issues for these individuals who are aligned with very dark and malevolent fourth-dimensional aliens. Dominant group of fourth-dimensional malevolent aliens controlling, manipulating the human Illuminati are known as Draconians or Dracos reptilians. Not all alien reptilians are of negative spiritual orientation. We know what they really are. Yes, they are interdimensional beings. Yes. Fallen angels. They may have the appearance of reptiles. I'm not 100% sure because I have not ever seen one. Everything that I've read, though, and seen, like in ancient Sumerian culture, ancient Egyptians, Atlantis, everything that I've seen points to the fact that they look like that. And this right here, last thing I'll read because I really got to get going. There's not much left. Mind control. Recent revelations from deprogrammed Illuminati government mind control where individuals such as Arizona Wilder, the biggest secret, Cisco Wheeler, Illuminati formula to create an undetectable total mind control slave, Kathy O'Brien, Transformation of America, and Bryce Taylor, thanks for the memories, leave no doubt the upper levels of the Illuminati engage in satanic rituals, which usually include the killing of young children, drinking of human blood, and consuming of flesh and human organs. We know all this. And that is the end of this. Oh, and I guess I would have to read this, just so this video might not get taken down. All information posted on this website is the opinion of the author and is provided for educational purposes only. It is not to be construed as medical advice. Only a licensed medical doctor can legally offer medical advice in the United States. Consult the healer of your choice for medical care and advice. So, yeah, little disclaimer. And as always, my videos are for educational purposes only, which constitutes fair use under the Fair Use Act. So, there's that. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.